I wrote a post on Facebook about the vents, about the possibility of the air coming in the little scoops here. They're supposed to be ram air that I'm not using anymore because I'm not using the ram air inlet anymore. Possibly them going in and hitting my new ducting and then going out the top. And so I got my air, I got to turn down as low as this thing will go. And if I blow it in, that's angled downward underneath it. And as I move it up, you can see now it's hitting the vent. Same thing on this side. It doesn't take much. I'm not really going up too high, and it's hitting that, and it's coming out pretty good. I mean, that's also a very low air setting, so at speed, I would imagine that would make a pretty good difference on it. So anyway, so I thought maybe I could just test it myself and know for sure before I drive it and know what it would do. Now, whether or not it's gonna like pull that much of a vacuum, I don't know if it'll pull that much to pull the air out. It usually doesn't have a problem driving cooling. It's usually when I'm sitting still, but either way, I mean, I'm always looking at ways to make it run cooler and things like that all the time. And this didn't, it was free. I got this medal from my dad, and yeah, so it was free, and I didn't have to buy anything for it. I used the original screws, and the one piece I had left was like just enough because I made the template and then laid the whole piece out flat, and then referenced all my angles where they need to be, added the lip to it, which was kind of tricky because my bender wasn't big enough to cut for the lip, or bend the big part of the lip, so I had to get kind of creative on how I bent that. I ended up bending it too much when you were thinking that part didn't need to be 90 at the back of the vent, and the sides needed just a little more than 90, but I got all that worked out. Had to make a little notch in the for the air inlet. It's not braced along the bottom. I'm not sure how that's going to be affected driving. It's braced. It's notched enough where the air tube goes that if the air blows it back a little bit, because it's kind of bowed forward a little bit because the vents kind of go at kind of a V, so I had to notch the lip in the back to get it to bend. That's why it kind of looks a little wavy in places, but I'm kind of limited to a degree unless I made it out of fiberglass, which I could, but if I did that it would be a lot heavier. So I may still add bracing to it at some point, all on the bottom, just to straighten it out and make it look a little bit better. But we'll see how it goes. It's pretty stiff along the sides once I made the bend, and then once I put the track spec quick vents on there, it really stiffened it up really good there. A little tricky to get it all on there, but it's on there. So yeah, it's raining today, but it's not raining too bad. I might just take it out real quick just to drive it. Now, I don't know if I probably won't even really tell any kind of difference or not, initially, because it's really not that hot today. It's only 76, it's been in the 80s. Yeah, aside from that, the car's been doing really good. I drove it yesterday, and it made a couple more tweaks to the alignment the other day. And man, it's driving so good. And that new steering wheel, I got my seating position, it's about 1.5 inches further back than it was, so my legs are a little straighter. The steering wheel's a little closer than normal, but I don't mind it being closer. I'd rather it be closer, because if I'm too far away, I'm so used to the autocross being close to it that I'm not comfortable being that far away from the steering wheel anymore. So I don't mind being closer. It's got the dish on it, which is kind of nice because it keeps my hands away from the spokes of the wheel, which is kind of nice, and it's easier getting in and out of now that I'm 1.5 inches further back. It doesn't sound like much, but it makes a huge difference getting in and out of the door because these doors are so long. If I'm further forward, it's just a job to get out because I got to go towards the back of the door because I can't open it very far in parking lots because they're so long. But man, driving it just around town yesterday, I drove it quite a bit, and my knees just felt so much better on the pedals. I didn't have as many issues getting my foot off the clutch pedal. I think that was part of the problem. I burned the clutch a little bit at the Cherry Point event. Was I was trying to get my foot off the clutch, and I think I was so jammed up because I'm so close to the steering wheel. My knees were jammed up. I couldn't get off enough or quick enough. And I think now I've got that solved where I can get off a little easier. I gotta stretch a little bit more to get it all the way to the floor, but I don't think that's not that big of a deal. It's not uncomfortable to do that. I don't have to push it quite all the way down anyway to shift. And my foot's good on the gas pedal, and it feels good. It's nice. It's leather. It's got the pre-made centering part on it, which is kind of nice. Yeah, aside from that, I'm just real happy. Wish I had another event to go to because the car is driving so good right now with all those issues I ironed out with the front suspension and everything, and then doing the whole alignment myself. I'd really be curious to see what it would do right now, because just driving on the street, I finally got some open spots on some curvy areas. Not quite autocross type stuff, but man, it just feels so sharp and predictable. And I'm learning a lot having my rebound turned all the way down on the street, having my compression turned up to where I race it at, because I've noticed I'm kind of learning now a little more that more of what it's doing, because now I can be in a turn and let off, and I can feel how the car transitions to the front because it doesn't have any rebound to the rear, and I let off and the car wants to turn a little harder into the turn. So I'm kind of understanding some of that. I think I might have my rear rebound a little too high on it, honestly, now that I see that, because I think I've noticed in the past it would get a little squirrely when I let off the gas in the middle of the turn, as opposed to now it wants to let off and turn a little more, which is probably a little too much. Definitely needs some in there for the autocross and stuff. But it's interesting to learn a little more about it. Trying some different things. I'm glad I tried that experiment with turning them all the way down. Unfortunately, that kind of screwed me at that event. But I definitely learned a lot about it now, and it's so much nicer to drive. It's a little stiffer with the compressions turned up, but it still has a little bit of a float to it over the bumps, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot easier on the shocks, a lot easier on the components, on the car, on the street. It's easier on me for sure. I usually like to drive it with them turned up a little more, so I kind of get more of a feel of what the car wants to do autocrossing, but I think I've been driving it long enough where I don't need that. And now that I'm learning what I'm learning with the turn down, I think that'll work. So anyway, I'm going to show a little bit of this. I get the hood up. So here it is. You kind of see how it's got the little bit of a curve to it because I had to notch it in the middle. And it does have that little bit of a wave in the center, but that's because of the whole curve, and I want to make it multiple pieces. And then the ends, I brought these as far forward as I possibly could, all the way up to the upper core support, so they kind of scoops that air in from the sides. So pretty happy with that. Can't really see a whole lot in there. There's the new steering wheel. You can see the dish in it and everything. I thought I was going to have to remove that 2-inch spacer and put a 1-inch spacer on it, but so far I don't think I need to change anything. My blinker is a little far away, so that's taking some getting used to. I can't just flick it with my hand like straight up on the wheel, so that's taking a little getting used to. But yeah, so we'll see what this duct does. It's not going to help me, obviously, sitting still, which is definitely not an issue, but it just doesn't want to keep up as much as it used to. I think maybe that's because the engine's had its final tune to it, so I think it's not running as rich as it was initially now that it's all finally tuned up. Now I had a touch-up tune done the other day because I was working on the HVAC system and found some vacuum leaks. That's why I was having problems with it not working right. Why it was so hot inside the car, because it needs to pull the vacuum on the valve under the hood to stop the hot water from going inside the car, and that line had a hole in it. And then there was a couple other spots that had holes in them, so I had to cut those and put little vacuum tubes over top of them. And then I had some of the dials inside the HVAC control unit were a little loose. I found someone online that used a screw and a lock nut instead of the plastic clip that holds them together. So I did that. So all the valves and stuff like that inside of it are a lot tighter now than they were before. I checked it with I got a vacuum pump and a vacuum gauge. That pump you can use for brakes. I don't really use it for that, but you can use it to check vacuum lines and stuff like that. So I pulled the vacuum on everything, and it's definitely holding a lot tighter. It's not perfect. I don't think it's going to be perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. And then I redid some of these lines here are my heater hoses, and I put a new valve in. You can kind of see it right here. That's a different valve than the factory one. The factory one only has 3 connectors on it. This one has 4, so it even more so bypasses the fluid, and it's a lot better angle. The other one had like a 90 on some of the fittings, and it was just kind of weird to connect it up. And now I've actually got it a little further away. If you can see it in there. It doesn't seem like it, but it's actually a little further away from the exhaust than before. I don't have to worry about the lines in there. I had the lines covered in a heat covering before. It's that one right there I had covered before, and I put a new line on it, and I don't have to cover it because it's far enough away now. So I just like how much cleaner all the lines are. So always trying to improve stuff. You know, it was really nice having that heat problem fixed, because now the AC that happened was trying to freeze me out of the car the other day, yesterday. So I actually had to turn it down a little bit, which is kind of nice. And it was just so nice to get in it and just drive it, you know, kind of like it's a daily. Like I went to Costco, did some shopping there, got some cold stuff, was able to put the air on, keep it cool in the car. Just did some stop and go kind of stuff with the air on, and everything did good. And just, you know, super reliable right now. Like I said, the steering super precise, a lot more predictable on everything. So, you know, just pretty happy right now. Just ready to get this work assignment done so I can get back and get Belinda to her school. So I got to do some work on her. I got some new tires for the trailer to put on there, some radial tires, so it'll pull better. And I just got to go through her car. I might get the alignment checked the week I get back. Schedule an appointment for it just to make sure it's absolutely perfect. Go through all the bushings on it, you know, maybe clean it, you know, obviously clean it up pretty good, maybe clean it underneath a little bit, just make sure it's just really good. Just hope to goodness we don't get any rain that weekend. That would be kind of a bummer. So hopefully that weekend stays clear. And yeah, so I'm gonna clean up and eat some lunch. Kind of get to working sometimes. I don't stop for lunch enough, so I'm gonna eat some lunch and then maybe take this thing for a quick little spin, see what it does. So, all right, thanks for watching.